Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on just an odd movie. It's called Armageddon Time, starring Anne Hathaway and Anthony Hopkins. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's The Pineys, books 1 through 9, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle, unlimited is free. Why I call this strange is the trailer and the tone of the movie seems to kind of be like all over the road. And so it starts out in the 80s, right? And they're playing Doing Time, We Are Alone in Time. That song, right? And so it's kind of an upbeat song, right? So at first I'm thinking, oh, okay, so maybe this is a light movie. Maybe it's a light drama or comedy. And big names: Anne Hathaway, Anthony Hopkins, Jeremy Strong. So I'm like, okay. And they're like a family, right? So at first I'm like, okay, this seems fun. And then we get the preview trailer, which I always hate. And they start off with Ronald Reagan winning the election, and Jeremy Strong calling him a schmuck. And it's New York, I guess, in the 80s, so that would make sense. You know, a lot of Democrats in New York. And then I guess this is their bar, I don't know. A lot of good work in terms of the period piece, whatever. Everybody's sitting around the TV, watching TV. Did we do this in the 80s? Yeah, you could. I mean, it wasn't like, the days of radio. But you could do that. I don't remember sitting around TV watching politics with my family, but not every family's like my family, but whatever. So, and you got this family, and Anne Hathaway's here, and her son is the redheaded kid, and he initially seems, he wants to do something creative, and then the mother says, you're going to go to college, and Anthony Hopkins there, and the other family members are there, and this is in New York, but nobody's doing an accent, right? Nobody's doing a New York accent. Nobody's doing like a New York Jewish accent. And then I realized, oh, these guys are Jewish. I'm like, okay, they don't have an accent for some reason. And Anthony Hopkins is English. And is he the only English actor that can't really do an American accent? Because it doesn't sound all that American. It sounds sort of barely American. And it doesn't sound like Brooklyn or New York. And I'm just thinking to myself, why aren't these guys doing the accent? I think they're in New York or the very outskirts of New York. So I think that's odd, but okay. Maybe there's a lot of people without the accent. I mean, I'm in New Jersey. I don't really have that kind of accent. But still, it feels like somebody should have a thicker accent. Seems very generic. So it centers around the kid, and he meets a friend in school, and they become buddies. And then, I don't know, they get in trouble in school one day. And they hide in the bathroom, and the teacher catches them. And then the mother is like, you can't hang around with that kid anymore. And he's like, why? And she goes, I think you know why. And so I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't this supposed to be a fun movie? Well, and then I'm still thinking, well, it's going to be a fun movie because Anthony Hopkins looking, he's the grandfatherly type. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe it's still a fun kind of movie, but it's like kind of a low-key drama about racism, maybe, in the 80s. So, now I'm not going to say that there was no racism in the 80s, but this feels an awful lot like there was a lot of it, and I didn't really encounter a ton of racism in the 80s. I mean, certainly more than there is now, but, I'm about the age this kid would have been in the 80s, so just seems a bit odd. So they don't want him to hang around with this kid, and they even send him to another school. Oh, you're going to your brother's school. And then he ends up in a highfalutin private school. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they just send him to that school to begin with? Because then they start talking, well, this is a big chance for you. So now that he got in trouble at the regular school, you're sending him into the good school where he has a big chance. Like, why didn't you do that before? But I guess this is all about the racism. So Jessica Chastain, I think that is, checking in as the stuffy headmaster or whoever she is. And the grandfather, again, no accent that I can recognize really. It's not English, but it doesn't really sound all that American to me. He's given his grandson advice, and it all ties into the bad guys from World War II, who his family escaped, obviously, because this is the 80s, it's about 40 years later. So you sort of get that connection. That was definitely a thing back at that time. So he ties the racism into that and how he should act, which, like, it's kind of clunky. I kind of get what he's saying, and some people did do that, but like, it kind of seems like a different thing. And it also feels like the whole family's making a mountain out of a molehill, as they say, because like, it doesn't even seem like the kids got into that much trouble. They're just goofing around like kids do, you know. Like, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, like, oh, you guys robbed the 7-Eleven. Nothing like that happened, so it's like, they weren't even smoking. So I'm not sure what's going on here. So then, of course, it's like he's in the private school, and then his friend comes to the gate like, hey, man, remember me? And then he sort of blows him off, and then, you know, it becomes this very serious thing about black and white people, I guess, written and directed by James Gray. And so then here they're talking about the bad guys from World War II, which I can't say on YouTube for some reason. And then it's supposed to be about family, a searing portrait of America. It's kind of not feeling like a searing portrait of America, because then they keep cutting back to the black kid, and he has it rough. He's living with his grandmother, and at one point the cops arrest him, and his grandfather keeps telling him, you have to say something. Which again is like, I mean, I kind of get what they're going at, right? They're trying to do a thing like they were friends and racism is ruining the friendship. You know, not that they're racist, but the people around them are kind of have these views, and it's like, oh, but you should correct it. Like, what is a little kid supposed to do? And like, the grandfather's giving him this advice. Does the grandfather not have any sway over his daughter? I think he's the grandfather to the daughter, or maybe it's the husband. I don't know. Either one, he would have sway. So like, wouldn't he be able to step in and go, hey, let those kids be friends? Like, what are you doing? I don't know. The whole thing feels just a little bit off. It looks overproduced, meaning that they got all October 28th. Not really a great Halloween film, in my view. And I guess it takes place in New York. There's computers in the background, so I'm not sure what they're trying to show family, and then there's this moment where he ends up at the school, I guess because of his brother. And then there's a voiceover with Anthony Hopkins telling him, the people we escaped from didn't like us, and they still don't like us. to subtly imply like this guy is the racist too against Jewish people, maybe. So then, like, what? Why did you send him to this school? Like, why did you send the brother to this school? Like, this is a prep school, I guess. I mean, a fancy prep school. How did he get in if he got in trouble with the other kid? I'm so confused what's going on in this movie. Like, the tonal shift is throwing me too, because it felt like, oh, we're gonna have a fun movie here, and now it's like super serious, but I'm not understanding quite the stakes. I mean, I understand that it's about racism at that time, and they're going like hard into the paint with it, but the details don't seem to jibe for me. From acclaimed filmmaker James Gray, reading the synopsis here, Armageddon Time, and also that title is throwing me too, Armageddon Time. What? Like, I thought this was going to be a completely different movie. Armageddon Time is a deeply personal story on the strength of family, the complexity of friendship, and the generational pursuit of the American dream. The film features an all-star cast including Anthony Hopkins, Anne Hathaway, and Jeremy Strong. Okay, I guess this is about James Gray's life because he wrote and directed it. Because the kid does say he wants to be creative, but so, you know, I guess if this really happened, it just feels a little off. Anthony Hopkins is really throwing me too, because he doesn't sound like a New Yorker at all. He's like, he doesn't even sound like he's doing a voice. Now, yeah, I get it. Sometimes actors, if they can't do an accent, they should stay the F away from it. But like, almost every English actor can do American accents like really, really well. You're telling me Anthony Hopkins can't do a New York accent? A little bit. And where did they send him? Like, what is this school? It says chemistry in the background. It almost looks like a stained glass window. So they didn't send him to a Catholic school. He's Jewish. I'm very confused by this movie. Or this trailer, rather. The tone is off. I would have definitely cut that. I mean, I hate those little preview trailers in front of the trailer. I don't understand what they're for. I don't know why you would put them on. I mean, I kind of understand, like, if you're showing them on a TV show, that might be like a 5-second kicker before it goes back into the show or into another commercial. But I don't understand a 5-second kicker in this. Like, you put it on YouTube, just show us the trailer. Don't put that 5-second kicker in with stuff we're going to see in the trailer anyway. Here's 5 seconds of the thing you're going to see, which is going to be a minute. Like, and my attention span hasn't degraded to the point where that 5 seconds is like, well, that's enough for me. I'll watch the rest later in my own good time. So, and why October 28th? This is Halloween. Shouldn't you be releasing a movie where there's a school full of ghosts and him and his friends solve the mystery? Like, what are we releasing this movie for in the middle of Halloween season? What are they doing here? I mean, I'm like, I feel like this thing is, am I wrong? This is like all over the map. Now, is it a bad movie? Well, I mean, the production values seems to be top notch. It just seems like a little off. Doesn't feel like family either. Doesn't feel like family members. This kid's got pretty red hair. Jeremy Strong and Anne Hathaway don't have red hair. Anthony Hopkins, now he's old, but he don't have red hair. So it doesn't even look like these people are related. I mean, to me, Anne Hathaway's look in this and in everything is she's very white bread. Maybe she is in the movie, but it doesn't. I assume they're doing a whole Jewish family move to America kind of thing. Here's the next generation. I mean, we've seen that in movies before, but this feels like the least ethnic version of that. Like they've squeezed out most of the ethnicity in it. I mean, there's not even, I don't even see the food. You know? I mean, there's a little food there, I guess, but I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling the vibe here. Nothing is hitting for me. I don't know. And I've seen movies like this before. Some of them were made in the 80s. But, it would be New York accents galore. And the weird thing is, too, is like Hollywood real big on, especially right now, people from certain ethnic groups playing their ethnic group. So, I mean, did you run out of Jewish cast members in Hollywood? Where are the Jewish people playing these roles if that's the rule? Like, it just the whole movie feels off to me. I don't know. I mean, that's not my rule, but Anthony Hopkins just doesn't seem to be bringing it. The kid looks precocious enough, I guess, but he also seems a little clueless, a little too clueless for the movie. Not sure how old he's supposed to be. I'm going to guess like 12, 13-ish. I don't know. I don't know. So, first act, they're a happy family. He makes friends with the black kid in school. They get into trouble. The family steps in. We're going to send you to your brother's school. Whatever the hell that means. I guess, is his brother even sitting at the table there? Maybe. So now he's going to his brother's school, and he doesn't get to hang out with his friend anymore. And he starts seeing the racism, and he talks to his grandfather about it, who, I guess he doesn't talk to the mom. I mean, I guess he has no sway. He's at a private school. Then he starts getting harassed at private school, while at the same time he somehow keeps contact with this kid that he's not supposed to hang out with, who it seems like they just met. They haven't been friends for very long. They become fast friends, but they haven't been friends for that long. And like the thing about being a kid that I remember is, yeah, you could make friends very quickly. You'd become friends with somebody, but almost as quickly, sometimes you wouldn't. You would sort of drop them if for whatever circumstances. Maybe you moved. Maybe your friend went to a different school, got moved into a different class. A lot of friendships are friendships of geography. And, so, but then again, it's like, too, your parents often, if you don't have a lot of friends, they're going to be like, oh, well, he made a friend, so they're going to try to give you as much leeway as possible, even if your new friend is a little sketchy from their point of view. But apparently the parents aren't like that. They're kind of racist. So, but the grandfather's saying, oh, don't be racist. Do something about it. And I guess he keeps being his friend, but then one night his friend gets arrested. And that's just the way the racist world is in this movie. And then he goes on to become James Gray and makes this movie, I guess. And it's called Armageddon Time because everybody's gonna die. I don't know. I'm so confused by this movie. The set pieces are really nice, though. I mean, the costuming, clothing screams 80s. I don't know. I don't know. You confuse me, James. I mean, maybe it's a good movie. It's got a good cast. I don't know. I just don't know. And you're going to release it the weekend of Halloween? What? Anyhow, that's it for me. Tony D, very confused today. Check us out on me and Little Joan on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more bass takes. We'll see you in the next one.